everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I'm back with an apartment renovation, and we are renovating 121 Hakim house in the world of San Myshuno. This is actually going to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, and the idea I had in mind for this particular apartment was a fairly large blended family, so there ends up being 2 parents, 2 teens, 2 kids, and then whatever amount of animals you would like. I also provided a crib. I'm not sure if the baby is currently here or if it is a child that will be on the way sometime soon, but I wanted to supply everything you would need for that storyline and a place for a cat to use the bathroom and some other pet-related furniture items and pet things. You'll see what I mean as we get further into the build, but I really hope you will enjoy this one. If you do and you'd like to download it for yourself, it is available right now in the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will be in the description down below as well. So starting in the kitchen, like I almost always do in every build, I ended up using these cabinets and countertops from the For Rent expansion pack. I think they are so pretty. I really like the orange wood tone I used here. And in particular, I love the end upper cabinet that has the paper towels hanging from it. I just feel like that's such a realistic addition. And so I decided to use these counters in here, and then I paired it with a flooring from, I believe, Businesses and Hobbies. And then the backsplash tile is from the Parenthood game pack, which is still one of my favorites years later. It has some really nice items, and of course, since I wanted this to be a family apartment, that made a lot of sense. I did try to use this table in the middle of the room from the Party Essentials kit. I like that it has a tablecloth and it's the right wood tone, but there was something about it that just felt a little bit off. I was going for colorful in here, but more muted colors, so the tablecloth felt a little bit too bright. But I do really want to use that at some point in time in an apartment or a house, because I do feel like it's a pretty realistic looking table. It's just not one I've used, really. Anyway, at this point, I thought I might separate the kitchen with a different tile on the floor. I don't end up keeping that in the end. I actually end up putting the wood back there and then putting a rug under it to kind of anchor the space a little bit more. And then for the curtains, I used these ones from City Living, just in, I believe, the base swatch. It's just like a cream and a black, and I think it is so pretty. And then I am finally swapping out the table here, and I used this high top table from the Lovestruck pack with some bar stools at it, and I just think it worked so much better for this space. And then that's the rug that I use under the table as well. That one is from For Rent. I think it is really pretty. It's one I feel like I gravitate towards too much, and I keep wanting to use it everywhere. Multiple times in this apartment, I grabbed it to use in a different space, and I was like, no, I already used that in the kitchen. I can't add that again. So it's just one of my favorite rugs at the moment. Anyway, over here, I decided to place down a bunch of plants. We have some by the window, and then I also have this hanging one off of one of the shelves in the kitchen. And of course, I had to add cutting boards. And the fun thing about this kitchen is we're actually going to have 3 cutting boards. We have the 2 that are leaning against the wall, like I typically do from the Cool Kitchen Stuff pack. And then I'm also going to be grabbing one from the Kitchen Clutter Kit. I think that's what it's called. That lays down on the table, so I'll be grabbing that here shortly, but first I'm decorating the table. Here I wanted to get some cereal boxes that were out and just like some general clutter that your Sims could use. I also have a hot pot in this kitchen. There's also a pressure cooker. I wanted to have a variety of appliances so your Sims could make a bunch of different foods, and I was imagining this was 2 different families that might have different backgrounds, and so like trying to combine different types of food and come up with really fun family meals. That was something that I had in mind while decorating in here. And also when we get to the bedrooms, it was just really fun coming up with the concepts of the kids that are sharing rooms, because I was imagining that each parent had a teen and a child, so the 2 children sharing a room are not kids that were raised together originally, and same thing for the teenagers. So it was just really fun to imagine the dynamics that those different bedrooms would have. Speaking of the bedrooms, I am rearranging the shape of them a little bit now. I originally had 2 bedrooms back here, I'm pretty sure, and a smaller bathroom at the end of the hallway, and then I sort of had an office space, but I turned that into a larger bathroom, and then I'm adding a second half bath over in the front here, and that one's gonna be just a toilet, a sink, and also laundry machines. So there is functional laundry in this apartment. I don't always do that, but I liked the idea of having the really chaotic household of so many Sims to take care of and also having laundry. I probably would actually hate that in gameplay, but It sounded fun as a concept, so I decided to include it. And then for the actual living space, I ended up using this beautiful curved sofa from Growing Together, and it took me a really long time. I know it looks like I immediately grabbed it, but to find a couch that I felt like worked well with that sofa was really difficult. I ended up going with this two-seater, which I think is from Tiny Living, and I thought that they worked together pretty well. They're similar enough shapes, although one is more angular than the other. But I thought that they were a decent match. And then I'm just figuring out some artwork. I also painted the walls this like beige color, which comes into play in a couple of the other rooms, I'm fairly certain, although I changed my mind a few different times. And then I'm just adding some additional cushions on the sofa, and I will actually be coming back way later in the build to add quite a bit more and like a blanket and some toys and stuff out here once I get a better idea of what the kids' rooms are going to look like. But for right now, I want to talk about how much I really love this coffee table. It is from the Jungle Adventure game pack, and I just really like square coffee tables. I was really happy with how I decorated it. It's just like 4 piles of items, but I thought it looked really nice. And then I kind of have a weird situation for this TV. It's on a small section of wall, but then it goes back further over here, and that's going to be where the desk space is, kind of like an office nook, which is kind of interesting. And a little bit later on, I make it feel a little bit less random by adding a wall divider over there, and I think that works quite nicely. But right now it looks a little bit odd, but I think it works, and I also feel like it's kind of realistic to have some sort of awkward layouts sometimes in apartments. But anyway, decorating the desk now, I really wanted to use this new shelf with the artwork that is leaning on it from the Grange Mudroom kit. It's like a picture rail, and I just think it is so pretty. So I grabbed that, and then there's also a toy box over here, and a corkboard, and a place to like put a bunch of kids' items. There's even a backpack over here, and of course some postcards. And I just think that corner came out really cute. And I knew I needed to add a basket of pillows and blankets. It's just so cozy. We're heading into the autumn here in the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm feeling all the cozy vibes. I know like a few weeks ago I posted an autumn build because of that, and I'll probably have some more coming up sometime soon. Actually, let me know what sort of like seasonal things you would like to see this year. I know right now everyone's thinking about the new expansion pack that's coming out soon, but outside of content with Adventure Awaits, I would love to know what like seasonal type stuff you would like to see on the channel. Also, it still feels really weird talking about Adventure Awaits out loud. It feels like I'm doing something wrong and I shouldn't be allowed to speak about it because it was a secret for such a long time since I worked on the pack. So like talking about it and it being out so soon is very strange to me. But I'm really excited for that as well. There'll be some videos on the channel of all of the builds that I created. And of course, I'll create a build and buy overview as well. And I'm sure lots of other builds. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see, definitely let me know. But yeah, right now we're just decorating the entryway. I used a lot of the mudroom kit in here and some plants. There's lots of places to hang up jackets, coats, hats, all of that. And these sort of wardrobes in the corner that are for the mudroom do function as dressers, so your Sims can actually get changed and stuff on those, which I think is really cool. But moving back to the living area and where the desk is, I went ahead and put that divider from businesses and hobbies, and then over here I actually added a fish tank. I thought that was really fun, and it's something that really makes me think of my childhood. I grew up in a house with so many animals at the same time, including, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4 fish tanks and a turtle tank, plus so many other animals. So when I see those fish tanks from Cats and Dogs, it just makes me think of my childhood. Plus Cats and Dogs is based on New England, which is where I'm from. So when I create big family homes, I like to include a fish tank. It feels correct for me. Let me know if you had a fish tank growing up or how many pets you had, if any. I would love to hear about that. I feel like I never find anyone that had a similar experience pet-wise to me. And that's also a huge reason why I haven't like built my childhood home. I've been asked to do it before because I do sometimes talk about it, but most of it would not be functional and nobody would want to play in it because there's no dining room, there's a fish room, there's no formal living room, that's the computer and saltwater fish room. There's just like a lot of weird quirks, and like the living room was mostly bird cages more so than a living room. So we don't have birds in the game, at least not parrots. So I don't know if I could ever build that. Anyway, I'm getting so off topic, and we have moved on to the largest of the 2 bathrooms. And I went back and forth on whether or not I wanted the same swatch of the cabinetry in here, because it just felt like it wasn't matching, because I wanted all of the fixtures to be gold if the cabinetry had gold on it. And I was struggling to find a tub that I liked that had gold hardware. I found it in the end. It worked out, but it did take me a little while to figure out this room. And I was able to add a shower in here as well as a separate tub. And then the other bathroom doesn't have a shower or a tub, but there's both in this room. But I did think it was important to add the second bathroom, so there was a second toilet to be used. And if you do really need an extra shower or an extra tub, you could probably rearrange that other bathroom and get rid of the laundry and add a shower tub combo into that other bathroom, which we'll be decorating as soon as I finish this one. I ended up putting 2 different rugs in here. One is sort of like a bath mat outside of the shower, and then I have this beautiful large round rug from Life and Death. I just thought the colors were so nice in here. I know that one's not necessary because it's not like your Sims are going to step on that right out of the shower, but technically none of them are necessary because your Sims don't care if they're there or not. I just liked how it looked, and then I got a storage cabinet in the corner from Life and Death as well. I actually used quite a bit of Life and Death and For Rent. I feel like those were ones I kept pulling from, especially For Rent. I have like the whole kitchen set. I end up using a bunch of the bedroom stuff in the primary bedroom. I just think it is really, really pretty, and I enjoyed using it in this space. But here is the other bathroom. You can see it's just the sink and the toilet. And then I'm going to be getting some stuff hanging on the walls from laundry day. So I have like the ironing board and stuff, and also a broom. So all of that stuff is stored in there. That's like the bathroom you'd probably have guests use. And then I'm trying to figure out what bed situation I want to have for these different rooms. I kind of really wanted to use bunk beds, and I was trying to have them angled this way. And I like how it looks. It's just frustrating because it looks like you should be able to add one more thing under the bunk bed next to that bottom bunk. But if you do that, it won't work. But I like how it looks, and I decided not to do it in the end, and I kept bunk beds, but more traditional in shape. And I actually ended up going with this color scheme of like this bright yellow, orange, and pink, which I thought was really fun. And then we're actually going to decorate this other bedroom first, which is like teal, green, and maroon. And I love how this bedroom came out. This is for the teenagers. I think they are trying their best to get along and find common ground, because if you suddenly had to move in and share a room with another teenager you did not know because your parents got married, it might, not go super well. But I think that these teens are doing a decent job. And I had a lot of fun decorating their space. I feel like they have some differences in interest, but they get along pretty well. It's just they don't super well know each other. That was a really poorly structured sentence on my end, but I think you get what I mean. I was able to place this cute little dresser between the 2 beds, and the color scheme in here is just something I feel like I've never done before, and I think it looks so cool. I was very happy with it. And the wallpaper that is behind the 2 beds on the wall with the window, that is from Businesses and Hobbies, and it's not one I use very often because it's so busy, but I think it worked really nicely as a accent wall in this room and to sort of anchor the beds. I also made sure that each of these Sims has their own little desk. These are also from Businesses and Hobbies, so that way they have a space to do some of their homework, and it feels like they have a little bit of separation from each other, so I did include that. And I know I said that they, for the most part, get along. They just don't know each other very well. That is kind of what I was thinking. Basically, I feel like when you're a teenager, your emotions are all over the place, and I feel like very easily these Sims could get into a fight and not be so kind to each other, and sharing a room like this could be an issue. I'm not really sure if they're in similar crowds as far as friends go, or if they're even in the same grade. It's just they're both teenagers. That is a little bit left open on how that friendship or acquaintanceship will progress as siblings. Now it's like step siblings. I just thought it was a fun one to explore. The kids, on the other hand, which we're about to decorate their bedroom, I think they're like besties. I liked the idea that perhaps these 2 kids were already friends before their parents started dating, and that's how their parents met each other. And both of them are so into animals. They really both want to like grow up and be a vet. I don't know if that's something they're going to stick with, because I know as a child, that was what I wrote down when I had to fill out what I want to be when I'm older, when I was little. And I very much did not want to do that when I was older, because when I was a kid, the concept of being a vet was hang out with puppies all day. And that's not what being a vet is. So, you know, they might change their minds over time, but we do have a vet career in The Sims 4 Cats and Dogs. So I was able to put a lot of vet related posters and stuff in here and go all out on the cats and dogs concept. And I was imagining there was a cat or a dog or both that live in this household. I didn't add a bed in this room for them. I probably should have, since The Sims really like cats and dogs. That would probably be a good idea. Maybe I will do that before I upload it to the gallery, or if I forget, that's an easy thing to go ahead and plop down. But they do have a giant dog stuffed animal in here. They have this cutesy like cardboard teddy bear thing. It's just a decoration from growing together. And I did my favorite thing I always do with bunk beds, where I use these modular pieces, and I have one that's higher up. So the upper bunk also has a bedside table. And then there's a bunch of like little stuffed animals and stuff around in here. And I just think it is so cute. I was really, really happy with how this room came out. Obviously, it's not done yet, but this little corner is pretty much done, and then I'm going to be adding a mirror over here and a height chart. And I believe the one I add is actually from my first pet stuff. It seemed like an obvious choice because it has a dog, a cat, and a hamster, and I just thought that was so cute. And I also grabbed a couple more of these posters from Cats and Dogs that are like all the breeds of cats and dogs. And oh, also this toy box that is a cat. I don't think I've ever used that one before because I honestly think it's kind of ugly, but it was a cat, so it felt like it was needed in this room. So I did end up adding it, and there's also a cute little chair over here and a dollhouse, just lots of activities for these Sims to enjoy. And then the last thing I do is add a couple of more rugs in here since I only had one and it didn't cover the whole space, so I thought a layering moment could look nice. And then we are moving on into the primary bedroom momentarily. I placed down the crib and was like, okay, we're doing this. I am deciding to put that down. So let me add some things to the rest of the apartment to accommodate for the potential newborn or infant that could be in this house. So I came out here and I added this little blanket from the, oh goodness, I think it's from the little campers kit. It's like on a stool, and merged that into the couch. I also got some more pillows and this adorable little stuffed animal, which I should be changing to be a fox, and just tried to make it look all cozy on the couch. And then I should also be adding one of those like floor things, I don't know what they're called, that you lay down an infant in and they can have, they can play with the toys. You can tell I don't have kids or know anyone that has kids by not knowing at all what that thing is called. But I placed one down. That one is from the storybook nursery kit, but there's also one from Growing Together. And now we are finally moving on into the primary bedroom. I thought I was going to use this bed from Eco Lifestyle, but I actually ended up grabbing the one from For Rent to match the bedside tables that I placed down. I think it is so pretty. I love canopy beds, and it's just one I don't use very often, so I was excited about it. And then there is like a full nursery in this room as well. So if you don't actually want your Sims to have another little one, you could probably delete all of that and have something else in that space, and maybe add another bathroom or a walk-in closet, a vanity, like so many different options. But I decided to have a little nursery moment, which I thought was quite cute. Basically, I was inspired by the rug I placed down, which I think is from Horse Ranch. It has a little sheep on it. I just thought it was really cute. And yeah, got a mirror over here, and I will be in a little while adding a changing table in here as well. I like to try and add those when I have space or if I remember, because they're very useful to have in game. They're not necessary, but they do feel quite realistic. So I'm trying to move things around to make this fit. It's a little bit of a snug fit, but I was able to get it to work, which is quite nice. I also was able to re-add that plant in that I deleted and get this really cute tree decal behind the crib. But that's pretty much it for this build. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I had a blast with it. If you did enjoy it, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And a massive thank you to my YouTube members for your continued support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. Please enjoy the screenshots, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.